This week's parasha is Parashat Chukkas. In this week's 2-minute discussion, we are going to discuss the idea of tumah and tahara. Now, in this week's parasha, we have the red heifer, famous red cow. But to understand what this idea is giving over, we first understand the premise in which it's based off. The idea of purity and impurity. What do these mean? What is the Jewish conception of purity and impurity? Rav Hirsch explains the first thing we must understand is what it's not. It's not some sort of noxious, evil emanation that somehow dirties the person it touches. Rav Hirsch explains that this misconception in, what we think of when we say tumah, or impurity, is not a Jewish concept. When it comes to it, he proves it from the ideas of, or the laws that are governing the ideas of tumah and tahara. If we look at how the idea or the concept of tumah is transferred, it doesn't have this sort of nature to it. It doesn't transfer simply by touch. Take vessels, for example. The type of vessels that transfer tumah, the shape, the intention of the one who made it, are taken into account to determine whether it does or does not transfer this concept. Rav Hirsch explains that we must be talking about a symbolic idea. But how to derive what this symbolic meaning is? Rav Hirsch takes us to the paradigm case of tumah, to a dead body, tumas meis, the tumah that the dead body gives over to the one who touches it. What does a dead body give over to a person who comes into contact with it? Psychologically. It gives over, the best way of putting it is the compelling forces of nature. Death conquers all. The necessity of death and the necessity of nature is overpowering. All succumb to death. Now, this truth that yes, things do succumb to death, but taking it too deeply, and the psychological impact that coming into a contact with a dead body, a person may, or a casual passerby, may have the misconception that not only in death, but also in life, nature conquers all. And he can be confused with an idea of materialism or determinism. This the Jewish religion stands opposed to at a very fundamental level, for without free will, all is meaningless. There's no choice, there is no moral freedom. This is what the idea of tumah is symbolizing. We are saying no to this idea of materialism. Yes, there is a dead body, but the Jewish person who comes into contact with this dead body must go through a process of tahara to refresh himself to the truth that we believe in free will. We believe that a person has the ability to choose. Materialism and determinism is not part of our framework. And that is what we're standing against with the idea of tumah. So to recap, tumah is not some sort of evil, poisonous, spiritual emanation from an item that people get contaminated with. What is it? It is a symbolic idea to warn us against the ideas of materialism, fatalism, and to refresh us with the idea of bechira chofshis, the fact that we can choose freely to do what is right. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful Shabbos.